in, don't forget to give this live a like. Tonight we have a follow up. This is part two of our FBA versus Haitian. Tonight is the first time we have our guest on, and she will be sharing some knowledge about the FBA community. The last show, and I encourage you to tune in and watch it if you haven't, we had a one sided perspective, which was us on the Haitian side. But today we have an African American side that is sharing what is FBA. They will be sharing more with us. So we welcome you. And please share the live and don't forget to hit the like button. Welcome our guests. Welcome Miss Tracy. How are you? And welcome
Hello.
and thank you for tuning in.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I had just to let everybody know, I had asked in the comments if I could come on because I did feel that it was one-sided. Um and I wanted to be able to give the perspective of FBA, Foundational Black American. Um, just so you know, like Marie called you, I was divorced, referred to me as an African American. So I mean, there's several names, and please don't misconstrue this as we don't know who we are type of thing. To the audience, that's to the audience that's watching or that will watch. So it's not that. It's that we are an ethnic group that was created here in the United States of America, that we've been here over 400 years. Some will say, will even include their Native American ancestry, which many of us have, Native American ancestry, of course, African ancestry, and European, mainly English, because that's who colonized, well, this part of North America, along the eastern seaboard of the United States that became the United States of America. So, for instance, I can trace my ancestry so far to 1660. And that's really mainly through a white ancestor, an English ancestor. So we've been called, starting out of Negroes, and then in the early 1900s, it changed to colored. Um, you still hear Negro, even in the 1800s, 1700s, 1800s. Sometimes we will refer to each other as Black, in some writings. And even like we have a church that was created and established here, the African Methodist Episcopal. I'm saying it wrong because I'm Baptist, but the AME. Maybe some of you have heard of the AM and E Church, the African Methodist and Episcopal church that was created by a Black man in Philadelphia in the late 1700s. Um, so African is sometimes used in our history, in our writings, by the people that came before me, but then it changed in the mid 1960s, because after our civil rights movement, and we went into this Black liberation, Black power movement, and we were trying to get closer to our African roots, and we like the term Black, which some people don't know, but some people like my grandparents who were born in the 1910s, in this country, in the deep South, I've heard them say that Black at that time was a derogatory word. If another Black person called you oh, you black so and so, that was fighting words. They didn't even like to be called black. They prefer colored. And then I would say in the 30s, 40s, and the 50s into the 60s, it went from back to Negro. And then, like I said, in the mid 60s on, we grabbed, I want to say just loved, put love around the word black, to take the sting out of it, being negative. So most African Americans prefer being called Black Americans, actually. There are some that'll say or will introduce themselves as African American, but for most majority, we'll say Black American. So now FBA is very new. I think it's 4 or 5 years old, via Tariq Nasheed. And I heard you mention, or your guest the last show mentioned his
Yes.
name. So he came up with that because, I would say the 80s and 90s, because of the increase in the numbers of black immigrants, black folks from the diaspora immigrating to the United States. And, I'll say paperwork wise, or as far as the US government is concerned, if you're black living in the United States, you can take on the name of African American, of Black American. So, with the increase in the numbers, it was like, well, how do we distinguish ourselves, as a group of people? Because we have our own culture here. We have created from being here over 400 years, just like you have your own culture in Haiti after being there, what, 500 years?
Been here about 200. And I know we're celebrating about our 221st or 22nd Independence Day. So, yeah,
Okay, but then even before that, I mean,
but
all
we
those
were here.
years.
Hmm.
I mean, all being there that long, you're going to create your own. You're going to come into your own ethnogenesis, if you will.
True.
And
Let me slow you down a little
okay,
bit. For my people is just tuning in, and we welcome you guys to the show. And today we are doing a second part to our first part, FBA versus Haitians. Um, I did a reaction on Mr. Dennis Sperling where he shared that he did not care what happened to the Haitian immigrants because the Haitian immigrants did not stand with the FBA. And we had a pretty one sided point of view. So tonight we're going to have an African American point of view. We welcome you to participate, we welcome you to interact with us. From your own words, what does FBA stand for and what inspired it FBA to get started?
so, FBA, Foundational Black American. The foundational was put in front of Black American in order to distinguish us from from the Black immigrant groups that are here, that, as far as the U.S. government is concerned, they can identify as being Black American as well. Um, and it, it it started with Tariq Nasheed. He coined it. He coined the phrase, the term, um, to basically, like I said, to identify us as a people group here that was created here in the United States of America. Um, it came out of, a man called Dr. Claude Anderson. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of him. He's got several books about Black empowerment, and he had been preaching like since the late 1980s that my group here, African American, Black American, FBA, ADOS is another term that came before FBA, which is, I don't know if you've heard of that, Marie, American Descendants of Slavery,
No.
ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery. Um, so so American Descendants of Slavery, and then the FBA was to focus on, to make us our own group in order to address our government about reparations. And that we are the aggrieved party, and that our ancestors were promised reparations right after the Civil War in this country. And the president, after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, his vice president, who of course became president after he was killed, reneged on that agreement. So with the further oppression, the racist oppression, and not being able to financially, or making it much harder, the obstacles put in our way to financially uplift ourselves, we don't do we were denied a financial economic legacy in this country. um, we should have more money. We should be better off financially as a group of people than we currently are in this country, but we were denied that. So how do we make ourselves different from the black folks that are immigrating to the
So
country?
hold on a second before we get to that, because we got at least an hour or more. So what exactly is FBA mission? Because we have people who are tuned in, they do not know much about FBA. So today we're teaching them. So for someone who have never heard of FBA, because I also received some comments saying that people had not heard of FBA.
Mhm.
What is your mission? And welcome everyone, Stitching Good, Silver Fox. Welcome to the live. Ursula Fredericks, thank you for tuning in. What is FBA mission?
Well, I see Stitching Good says reparations is the mission, but before the mission, just know that FBA is just another name for us, for our ethnic group in this country. It's not an organization. There's no charter, mission statement, vision statement of president or CEO. It's the same as, well, that's why in the beginning, when I went through all the different names that my ethnic group in this country has been called, from colored, Negro to colored, back to Negro, sometimes African, sometimes Black, and then Negro, and then in the mid 1960s we were Black, and we've been Black, really. We've been calling ourselves Black Americans since the mid 1960s. It's just that with the influx of Black folks immigrating here from the Caribbean and from Africa, some of them have been identifying themselves as Black Americans. So there's no, it's not an organization with a mission. It's just, so now that there's so many, the Caribbean numbers have gone up, African numbers have gone up, and they're going to keep going up in this country. How do we self-identify? If they can call themselves Black American and African American, a lot of Africans come here and say, I'm the real Black African American because I'm from Africa, or my parents are from Africa. I'm the real African American. So, and then there's a lot of Black Americans who don't like being called African American. Um, so we need to distinguish our group so that we can fight as a group, or and be identified for the reparations cause. So that, I would say that's the main thing that sparked, the name change, let me put it like that, or name identifier to FBA by Tariq Nasheed. Now on social media, Black folks on social media for the most part are familiar with FBA. But if you're a Black American, and you're not really into social media, if you're my age, in particularly in my age group, they probably never heard of FBA. But like I said, it's only a few years old. Um, we'll have to see if it catches on. I like the word freedman, because there was an act that was passed by Congress right after the Civil War. And they referred to my group as freedmen. Um, but then, it's always going to be something. You could come here, other Caribbeans could come here and say, well, I'm a freedman too. My people were freed from slavery. But we like to put U.S. in front of it, that I'm a U.S. freedman. Yeah, I think you're muted, Marie.
No, I'm listening. I'm
Oh,
listening.
yeah. So it's mainly that, and if that's, I don't know if that's
So
sufficient
I
enough to
do
say let's
have
go into
a
the.
question, and I
Okay.
see some of our people are tuning in, and I welcome you guys, and please share the live, guys. Let's get more people watching. So from what I gather, and it's just my opinion, Miss Tracy, is that FBA basically want to move themselves away from the immigrant community from being identified as
It's not. Are you about to use the word, the divisive word? Is that
I,
where we're going?
I see a level of separation. I'm playing the devil's advocate a little bit
Mm,
because, and I'm sharing this because as someone who's an immigrant who grew up in the African American community,
mm,
in my opinion, when a white person saw us, they looked at us as all black.
mm,
Okay. And until I open my mouth to say I am Haitian, or a friend of mine says that I am Jamaican, there is no difference in us. So
mm.
as we move forward, it's a fact that the FBA community, they want to be identified as who they are and not associate with black immigrants who were not born in the United States. Am I interpreting it somewhat right?
So I think this, no, I'll say no, because the sentiment behind what I'm hearing is, again, back to that word being divisive. We are only trying to um we're trying to let people know that there is a group of Black Americans that that are American. We are literally the definition of Americans, of an American. Our food was cultivated here. We got a food culture here, created here in this country. We have a music culture here that was created here in this country. The same as you have a food, Haitian food and Haitian music. My music, my food is American. Um, so it's only so if the Caribbeans can come here and have now, here's a good example. Black History Month was created here by FBA, African American, Black American, whatever you want to um, him, Mr. Johnson, who created Black History Month. It started as Negro History Week because he created it in the 30s, 1930s, when we were still called Negroes. And of course, when we started identifying as Black, it changed to Black History Month. Um, that was to celebrate everybody Black. So that's when we would learn about Toussaint L'Ouverture and what had, the revolution y'all had in Haiti. You will learn those things. The focus, I mean, of course, it's heavily focused on us Black Americans and our contributions to America and the world, because it was created here that month, and it was created by a Black American, African American FBA freedman. It was created here, but his goal was to say, because this country is Black and white. When white folks discuss their history, their contributions, white folks here in America, and American white folks, they take it global. They pull in, even though the majority of the white folks here, especially who found this country, are English, and you have some Irish, and then some others came. They'll talk about the Greeks. They'll talk about the Romans. They'll connect themselves to that group of white people because of the and play up their role in the history making contributions to the world globally. So Weldon Johnson said, "Well, we Black people have also contributed globally." So that's why it goes. Yes, Black American history is discussed, our contributions to this country, but also the contributions of Black people globally. The Caribbeans decided, maybe it's been 15 years or at least 10 or 12 years, to have a Caribbean American Heritage Month. Caribbean American Heritage Month is in June. It's the month of June. Um, so why do you need a American Heritage Month when you are celebrated and recognized during Black History Month because you are a Black person? So the Caribbeans now have their own month. And guess what? The Haitians now have their own month. It's in May. So I can say that's divisive. Oh, oh, the Haitians here in America now have their own month. It's in May. Um, and that's why, so it was created by a group or Haitian in Boston or the Boston area, because your Flag Day is in May. But so May was, and I had heard about it a couple of years ago, but I thought it was a 1 day thing. But I wanted to make sure, to be prepared for the show tonight. It's a whole month. It's the month of May. I think 2018. I think that was the year. So is that divisive? I mean, hey, um, like I said, we have Black History Month. It's supposed to celebrate everybody Black. Now the Caribbeans, and now with the influx of Africans coming in, I'm sure they're going to get their own month. I know in my state, they make sure that they have their own. I think they have a day in my state, and in Florida, the Africans in Florida now have a day or a month. I'm sure in the next 10 or 15 years, they're going to push for the Africans here in America will push to have their own month. I mean, so is that divisive? We didn't tell y'all to leave Black History Month. We didn't push anybody out of Black History Month.
Oh, okay. I have a question here too. Do you think that at least some African Americans who are a part of the FBA, because I gathered that not everyone is a part of FBA, do you think that some of them have African roots? Do you acknowledge that maybe some African Americans are from Brazil and elsewhere, but can you acknowledge that some may have been brought to America from Africa?
Of course. I mean, that's what makes us Black. I know we have a small percentage of Black Americans, African Americans, FBA, what have you, some who deny that the slave trade ever happened. They think it's impossible that ships, came across the Atlantic to this part of the world. I don't know how they think the white folks got here, but there are some that go that far to even deny that ships from Africa even got here. But the majority of Black Americans, African Americans, FBA, um, No, we believe that we descend from Africa, West Africa and Central Africa mainly, um, and it's celebrated. And a lot of Black churches. My church is a mega church, it's 5,000 people. For Black History Month, was wear something African every Sunday to church. Um, at some weddings and other celebrations, I would say since the mid when we got into the Black Power movement that came out of the Civil Rights Movement, so going back to the 1960s, Black people started incorporating African drumming, like to open up a ceremony or something. You find and hire some, and this I would say mostly for major cities. I wouldn't say this like if you go into the deep South that this type of thing is going on. But as far as denying that we come from Africa, that's not the majority. And as far as denying a Black person saying that they're not FBA, what they should say is that they don't like the term. They can say they don't like the term FBA, but again, and we'll see how far it goes. But the push is for that to be our new moniker, for that to be that FBA is a lineage of a group of people created here from an amalgamation of Africans, the white folks that enslaved us, and the natives, the Native Americans that were already here. That we are an amalgamation of these three people. But of course, you look at me, uh, you can't deny, you can't deny, that I don't have African ancestry. And somebody said in
You
here, I was
you
looking
you
at a
said you
chat.
don't have the African ancestry.
I said you can't deny it. I can't deny you.
Okay.
Nobody. You can't deny it. I don't deny it.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
Okay.
I celebrate it. In my home, I have a lot of African art.
So
Mhm.
let me ask you, because I am sure you're gonna have some African Africans who are watching. Someone from Africa watching, tuned in. Could they feel a certain type of way knowing that many of us face the same struggles and FBA want to remove that as part of their history?
So no, this has nothing to do with discrimination or white supremacy here in America. That if they come here, that they're not going to be subjected to that, and that shouldn't be recognized. Again, this is just us. So how would you? Let me ask you a question. So how would you identify my ethnic group? My ethnic group is different. My ethnic group here over 400 years, own food culture, own music culture, created right here on this land that I'm talking to you from. Why would you share my lineage? We don't share the same lineage. We are the same race. We're Black people. We are part of the African diaspora. Yes. We are Black people. Yes. But you're a Haitian, you're Haitian or you're Caribbean. I'm a Black American. I'm literally an American.
I
Um,
would are you gonna let me answer?
yes.
I will identify you as an African American. Why? It is because we were separated at birth. Even I have descendants that is probably from West Africa somewhere. So, being that we were separated at birth, we were all raised differently because based on where you were raised, then you adapted a culture. But in the end, we do have a similarity. Am I correct?
I would only the only similarity that I see would be that we descend from African people. That's what we share as far as similarity. But we went through an ethnogenesis here in America the same way your people in Haiti went through an ethnogenesis in Haiti. You all were able to retain more of African ways than we were. We've retained some, and some people don't recognize it. My people, if you don't read and get steeped into our history, you wouldn't know it because we don't talk about it like this is African, like beans and rice. We call it hop and john. Black eyed peas. Black eyed peas are from Africa. It's West African, specifically what's now Ghana. Um, that's black eyed peas are eaten. That's part of our soul food, if you will, part of our food culture. Um, so I don't see any similarities unless you are a Haitian, I don't know, first, second generation, and where you came up with, I believe, like you said, with Black Americans or African Americans. I prefer Black American or freedmen. Um, and you're used to Black American music, you know, like you got folks that are rapping. I think was the Haitian Kodak Black, who's
Mm-hmm.
Haitian, and Wyclef from the Fugees, hip hop artists, unless it's something like that. Other than that, you know, Wyclef, we don't, because I know he wasn't born here. He was born in Haiti and came here as a child. I'm using him as an example. So he got used to, say, American food, for instance. Uh, but he got used to American food. I've never had Haitian food, so
You
I've
missing
never.
out. I can guarantee you that much. You missing out, sister. And
Okay,
I have
okay.
had African American food because I think we all have great food. You should try
Mhm.
some Haitian food, especially after this interview. Because
Okay.
what I want you to see is, as Black people, and I understand you're speaking from one side. I grew up in the United States.
Hmm.
So for a while, I just lived my life and I associated as a Black person.
Hmm.
Okay. But when we create groups to, let's say, separate ourselves, right, to not use that D word, then that's to say, okay, you guys get reparation,
Hmm.
and the rest of us, we don't. And as Black people as a whole, I understand not every Black person was a slave, but there was a ton of Black people who were a slave. Do
Hmm.
you, as a Black person, have a right to ask for reparation and just say that reparation would only go towards those African Americans when all of us Black people, we suffered the same fate?
Um, so I'm for black folks anywhere getting reparations, but you have to get it from the group that aggrieved you. So you all, so for instance, it would mainly be Spain, and you could argue U.S. I know, U.S. has been doing Haiti dirty, but you know, if your country, y'all get a leader who's like, I'm going after the US, you know, to repair us, reparations to repair us, that would only go to you all. I wouldn't get any of that because I'm not part of what that grievance is. My group, foundational Black American, African American, Black American, freedmen, we we have been aggrieved. We were enslaved here in this country, and this country fought to keep us, fought to keep their foot on our necks, to keep us enslaved. You know, just through, it was, you know, it was legal. Slavery was legal. We were promised 40 acres and a mule, my ancestors, right after slavery, and it got reneged upon after Lincoln was assassinated. So my group has been denied an economic, financial legacy. We were denied, and we experienced another 100 years of Jim Crow right after the Civil War. You know, it's just more denial of my group. That has nothing to do with discrimination. When
So
you all
we
immigrate here,
actually have some similarities,
but
Miss
when you all,
Tracy.
but you all immigrate here, you've made the decision to immigrate to America. I didn't make, my people didn't make the decision to immigrate to America. We were here in chains, being subjugated by these white supremacists in this country.
Do how okay, so we see some similarities, right? You were lied to, as well as we suffered, and we had to pay for the freedom we have.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to go into a whole history because the Haitian people have also helped people in America too to gain their independence, and that's a part of history. So let's move on to today as far as my reaction. What would you consider the tension existing within the Black community, especially FBA, against immigrants, specifically Haitian immigrants? You guys clearly stating you're not standing up to speak for the Haitian immigrants, that the Haitian immigrants have separated themselves. What is the foundation of that tension?
I mean, I wouldn't call it tension. Between our groups, I would just say that we got our wake up call um as a group. I think um social media gave us our wake up call, uh, not just with Haitians, but um I would say most immigrants, regardless of who they are and how they feel about us. Um, and even if, I mean, there's different Haitian groups here in the United States, and when something happens to one of us, we don't hear from those Haitian groups. And I'm not talking about, because I can understand those who may have just immigrated here and they're not a citizen yet, or they've just gotten their citizenship. But the ones that are first gen, second gen, um, we don't hear, they don't play a role in any of our movements. We don't hear anything. And so I guess what you mentioned, what's his name, Dennis, I've seen some of his
Sperling,
yeah,
Mr.
some of his
Sperling.
shows, Sperling. Our sentiment is we're just going to start minding our business. I mean, as far as our business, as far as handling our business and focusing on us and what we need, which is reparations. Really, it's reparations. No one includes us. No one, and I mean the other Black immigrant groups. They don't include us in anything. If it says black, then anybody who's black here in America gets to have it. Scholarships, loans, you know. But you all go even further and have your own scholarships for just your group. So I can't, or my child can't get that scholarship because it's just because they're not a Caribbean or name a Caribbean group. But we haven't done that. But that could be on the horizon. That could start happening where there just be like a freedmen fund or whatever, and it'll only be for my ethnic group.
Hold on. Can you maybe see that certain scholarship may be dedicated to Haitian children due to the ongoing struggles which is happening within Haiti? And is not to separate ourselves from being a black nation, but it's because of the ongoing disparity that Haiti continued to face from countries like United States, France, Canada, and so forth. Have you, as an American, African American, tried to see why maybe someone would attach a Haitian scholarship for Haitian children?
I do. Yes, yes, I do. The only thing is that, so we didn't know that was going on. And when you're sitting in our shoes, where we're opening up and saying, anybody black, if you're brother, you're my brother, you're my sister, I've made the table and made the food, fix the table, come on and sit down and eat. But then you come and you sit down and you eat at the table, and then next week you don't invite me to your table. Okay, so you tell me why. Well, this is why, because we have to do this and focus on XYZ. Okay, well, we have issues here in this country with our children who are without. Um, go to any major city. Um, so we should start focusing on our people instead of opening up to anybody black. If other black groups who have immigrated here are going to just focus on their groups, then what is wrong with us focusing on us? So I would say that.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with focusing on the community, but what I want to say is, should we understand that, of course, a Haitian who is born and raised in Haiti is
Mhm.
going to associate with a Haitian? Does it mean that I am not representing the black community because I create something to help a Haitian person who I know have faced the same struggles as myself, but
Mhm.
have a lot less opportunity because you just so happen to be blessed and ended up in a better area? Your lineage ended up in America, where the struggle is not as bad for you as someone who is Haitian. But can you understand why? But it is not to separate ourselves, to say that I am not black, but it's to help somebody that I know I've left in that struggle.
Okay, I hear you. I can accept that. I see. I mean, so like I said, yes, but um, I mean, so it's not a but. I, I just hope that you uh, can understand though that because we have just said black is black, this flat blackness, you my brother, you're my sister, you're black. You can share with what I have. That's what, my group, the African American Black American FBA, has done for decades. And when we start learning that you all are focusing on, understandably, okay, but then so do we. So when I open up, say, a scholarship for Black teens coming out of high school going to college, and that means now, because you have your own scholarship specifically for your group of people, so now should you double dip? So now you get that one, and then I should also open mine up just because you're Black, so that you can compete with the kids in my ethnic group, when the kids in my ethnic group cannot compete for the scholarship that you're offering because you're being specific to your group. So I'm just saying, why can't we have the same, regard for our group of people then? If it's just going to be by group, because there's the need there, your group, your kids, they have the need. Well, there's kids in my group that have a need. So why should I open it up? Why then every group has their own um, you know,
Their
bucket, if
own
you will.
focus. So one of the things that is bizarre to me, because I want to bridge that gap. I think that Black people as a whole, we need to have unity within us. Because how often do we hear white people having these conversations amongst themselves? How often do we hear this type of separation? Because even today, as we hear a lot about immigrants, many can question, well, what happens to the Ukraine immigrants? You know, people are, they're not named, okay?
Mhm.
But we're not going to go there. Would it be fair? And should it not be fair when white says that we want to create our own group? Why do we have a problem with that? If we within ourselves we do it.
Um, I mean, so like I've said, we weren't on that type of divisiveness. We were open. We were like, if you descend from the continent of Africa, you're my brother, you're my sister, regardless of where, if it's Panama, you're an Afro-Cuban or Afro-Latino even. If you identify as Black, then come on and sit at my table. I mean, my group has been that way for decades. But like I said, social media has really opened up the eyes of my folks to, I'm trying to find a nice word, but I mean, it's like some disdain for us, that even words that white supremacists use for us, that, we're lazy. And I even heard, some Africans say, that their IQ is higher than Black American IQs. And, I mean, this is all this social media stuff. But I mean, I have heard this one African, and it was one at work at my job, who he said he would have to speak up for us with this other African, he's Nigerian, and speak up against how they would talk down about Black Americans, African Americans, because they just didn't know the history. But I'm just saying, like I said, social media has just really opened up our eyes into seeing what other groups are doing. And groups, I mean, I'm talking about other, Black groups, Caribbean, and the African groups. I can't speak too much on the Afro Latinos because I think they're still trying to figure themselves out. But and we're not saying that we I hate that word separate or divisive because we just want to be identified. We want to have our own moniker. I've described it as African American. What if this is my what if that anybody black that's you've immigrated here or you've been here, that if the U.S. government keeps this African American name, then underneath you have these other subgroups identified. So you're still going to identify, our groups still need to be identified. We have our own culture here in America. We, like I said, we are really Americans. We didn't immigrate here. So we should be able to have our own moniker, our own name, the way y'all do. If y'all can do it, why can't we do it? And that's not to say that we should remain divisive because of that. We can still come together as Black people and celebrate each other and celebrate our differences. You just told me I should try Haitian food. I love to try some Haitian food. I'm down for that. I'll try some Haitian
Mhm.
food.
And I
Um,
think that's what we should focus on instead of separating so much. You may continue.
oh, I was wondering about, there was some comments being
Hmm.
made, and oh, somebody said Black Americans need to be federally recognized. Yeah, I think that's the census. Some groups, I'm in a freedmen group in my area. We have been working this U.S. Census. Well, the actual office that determines what all these different groups are to be called is the Office of Management and Budget, the OMB. And they had some focus groups, and people were allowed to call in about their specific groups. So we had asked that instead of putting all Black folks, regardless of where they're from, as Black/African American, that because it also determines the census, that the results determine resources, and it determines how well and how bad you know um, the different demographics are doing. Um, so I know that the census, they're taking that on, so that if you are a Haitian or a Nigerian or a Jamaican, um, or a Black American, African American, you'll be able to check that box to identify yourself.
So you guys want to be identified as Black?
Well, that didn't get ironed out too well because there was different groups calling in, like the ADOS, the American descendants of slavery, those that have started identifying as that. That's about 7 years old now. To be called, for our group to be called that. I prefer freedmen because that's legally on the books on the U.S. That's still a legal term for us as freedmen. Um, some people wanted FBA. They called in and said, we want to be foundational Black Americans. We don't want to be African Americans. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna pan out, but I do know they're looking at ensuring that the different Black groups that are here can check the box as to who they are. So I don't know if someone's half Nigerian, half African American, Black American FBA. They can check both boxes, and half Jamaican, half whatever. They'll be able to
Let,
check
let
both
me
boxes.
let me ask a question because I know that it's natural to protect home. Do
Mhm.
you think that, and I even asked my Haitian guests the same question, do you think that within the African American community that you guys are sometimes um, distasteful towards foreigners who are black coming into America that's not as hip, that's not as modern,
Mhm.
that may not culturally fit what you are used to or considered cool? Can you share your thoughts on, do you think the gap, I'm not saying that immigrants did not play a role, but can you admit that African Americans living in the United States have not been so welcoming to those coming from
Mhm.
other
Different.
countries?
So I would say the youth are. I would say that the young people, if you came here and you're in school, kids are mean, and especially if you're different. And then it depends on the neighborhood. I mean, if you are are fortunate enough, your family's affluent, and so for instance, the county I live in, I'm outside of DC. I'm in a black county, predominantly black county. Um, so you're less, if your child were to start school with my child in that school, the odds are not that they're going to be mean to that child because they've been exposed to more. You know, they've probably traveled somewhere with their parents. They may have a passport, is what I'm saying. If you're exposed to more, um, no, I don't think it'll be more a curiosity. Oh, your accent, where are you from? Versus if you end up in the hood, with some Black Americans that have not been exposed to anybody but their group of people, yeah, chances are the kids are they're gonna get you. They're gonna tease you. Um,
Can
and I
you
think
admit that back then, most foreigners, Miss Tracy, ended up in the hood, and that's where they started?
so. Um, probably. I mean, probably so. I would imagine coming here, that's probably the case. Now I I've only experienced living in like a working class neighborhood a couple of times in my life. My father was in the Air Force, so we traveled a lot and lived on military bases, traveled outside the country as well. So I've been exposed to things. So if you were to arrive here as a child with me and my siblings, um, I'd be, girl, take the other handle of this jump rope. Let's play, because I've been exposed to more. But when they would send my father overseas where we couldn't go as a family, we would go to Buffalo, New York, where my mother's people are. Buffalo's a very working class, poor city. And I got teased because I spoke different. Um, I spoke wherever I was living, I carried that accent, and I kind of spoke too properly. And the kids weren't used to that. I got teased. I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. I got teased for that. Um, I got teased. I got bullied for it, because I was different. And then the dozens doesn't help. We have this tradition, Black Americans, African Americans, FBA, of playing the dozens. So that's how you're gonna get got. Um, so the best thing to do is to like keep your head down. So I can imagine that, yeah, black folks immigrating here to those neighborhoods, getting teased. I mean, I would advise, anyone coming here, and if that's where you happen to land, um, they're gonna rank on you, um, which is part of that playing the dozens, meaning, your mama's so black, whatever. It's funny, but it's mean. But you're gonna have to learn how to rank back on them, how to get back on them. It is mean. It, but like I said, it just depends on where you land, and if that's unfortunately where most black immigrants land is in the hood, then they're not exposed to much, but where they're at.
Yeah, and the reality is, I believe, in my opinion, that's where the gap started, because many people have been bullied, have felt unwelcome. And what the immigrant community probably want to say and may not
Mhm.
be able to say it is the fact that ranking back is not my priority. I just left Haiti where I'm dodging bullets trying to save my life.
Mm.
So things in which you guys take for granted, it
Mhm.
is a blessing for me to sit in a classroom on a daily where I'm not being interrupted is a blessing. So for a lot of foreigners, the last thing on their mind is to argue back with you. It is
Mhm.
not because they're the weakest link, but understanding each other. I think in this world, period, if we can start having a heart, Miss Tracy, to understand each other more, I
Mhm.
think the world itself would be a better place. Because a lot of Haitian parents, imagine coming from a place where you may have been making about 75 to 200 a month. And now they have the opportunity to make 200 a week. And even though that's nothing to you as an American, it is a lot to them. And they, for the most part, grabs that opportunity with both hands.
Mhm.
Okay, you will find a lot of foreigners would say you don't hear too many complaints from for immigrants from the white community, and that's sad because you just mentioned, hey, I brought you to the table, I this and that, but you'll find a lot more white people, whether you are in the hood or in the suburbs, a lot more understanding towards a black immigrant. There did need to be, because they're in the hood, there did need to be an excuse, okay? And that people can only speak from their reality. And a lot of immigrants have been in the United States probably as long as you've been alive. And if the cycles continue, I think that is where we need to work on to bridge that gap between African American and immigrants.
So, are you saying, and then again, I'm looking at children, that white kids don't tease black immigrants?
That's not what I'm saying, Miss Tracy. What I'm saying is we have a bigger majority that get teased from their own community, their own black community. See, in order for us to bridge a gap, we must accept that reality. No, we're not saying that white people are better to us. No.
Oh.
But you have more sensitivity. more than in your own community at times. And I believe that is what I'll give you an example for myself.
Okay.
Growing up in the state of Texas as a little 8 year old, 9 year old migrating to the United States, it took me a while to start having African American friends because they weren't the nicest friends to me until
Mhm.
I got older and I started learning to speak English. But they weren't willing to just be patient and just get to see me as an individual, as a kid like them. Most of my friends, and this is honestly the truth, my parents can account to that. There were a lot of Hispanics. And these Hispanics was crazy. They did not speak Creole. They spoke Spanish and English, but they taught me Spanish to communicate with me, and from there taught me English. They were patient. They had that love. And some people are going to say, well, why don't y'all go to the. No, at the end, when you look at history, our forefathers, Jean Jacques Dessalines, because as a Haitian woman, one thing no one will take from us, the freedom that we all enjoy today started here. Regardless of what people view or think of Haiti today, we are the first free black nation. And Jean Jacques
Mhm.
Dessalines fought for every black person to be free. He did not just
Mhm.
say it's for solely Haitian. He fought for every black. He did not think any black person on earth should be enslaved. So why today? Why today are we within, whether someone is from Jamaica? Yeah, I can understand the characteristic, Miss Tracy, because there you could be black and have characteristics that is no good, and that will cause me to not be your friend. Just vice versa as white. But why do we not try to put a bridge within us and understand that we have all been a victim of this system? I understand that, yes, it was America who occupied you guys. But as a whole, Miss Tracy, I think since there was black people who were not slaves, but let's say the 70% of us, we endured similar disparities. And in today's day and age, it's an opportunity to have you on because I'm sure you're involved in many groups. I think our focus should be bridging the gap
Mhm.
and creating a change for all of us. And not saying just because I migrated to America that I'm either better or less, or to remove yourself, okay? Because I think that we're all black people.
Um, yes, I was regarding Dessalines. I did know that about him, and at how he welcomed anybody black to Haiti. Um, I think though, I think as far as the children being mean, I would hope that once that black immigrant becomes an adult, that they look back and understand that that was a child, um, and those were childish ways. Um, it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. Um, but like I said, children are mean. If you're different, uh, and you're around people that aren't exposed to different, well, mainly kids, it is unfortunate. And I don't really know how to get around that, or how to make it better, other than maybe the community that maybe that Haitian, if there's a community Haitian group or Caribbean community group, does some educating at that school, at the schools in their area that their children are visiting, to help those Black American children understand, um, to be nice to these new people, and this is why. That's the only thing that I could think of. Um, but as adults, as far as bridging the gap, I think it's actually more of the same. Like I said, my group has always been open armed to anybody Black. But like I said, when it's just that we're seeing now that it's not reciprocated. Here in America, it has not been reciprocated. So now we're going to focus on us. That's not to say that if something happens, like for instance, that I forget his name. I think he's from St. Lucia. They got killed in Texas. The white female cop that opened his she claimed she thought it was her apartment. When she opened the door, she shot him. He was sitting there eating ice cream, watching TV, and she shot him. I don't know if that was a few years back. She's in prison. Did you hear about that?
What did you say?
It was a young Black in his 30s. He's Caribbean. He's from St. Lucia. So maybe it's been about 4 or 5 years ago. In Texas, it happened in, I think, the Dallas Fort Worth area. And he was sitting
Okay.
in his apartment, and the
Hmm.
female cop also lived in that apartment complex.
I
She
did.
claimed,
I did.
okay. I mean, Black people, the Black Americans, we rallied behind. I mean, sent money, you know, for his family. Um, I mean, you still have a lot of Black people who, because that's just who we've been as far as welcoming and opening to Black folks, because we understand white supremacy, because we've been in the belly of the beast since we've been here.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm saying, I'm putting aside, what happens with school kids and what happens in
Hmm.
school, but how we can try to bridge as adults. I think at this point, if we can see the reciprocity from our brothers and sisters who immigrate here from Africa or the Caribbean islands, um, if we can see some reciprocity, we just we've noticed that we're not seeing it. We haven't been seeing it. We just see, you know, y'all come in and latch
But
on to
we
whatever we got
let
going
can
on.
we use the Black Matters movement? Haitians supported Black people. We were all standing up saying Black Lives Matter at that time. The George Floyd movement, we supported you guys. I mean, I don't see where exactly are you saying that, let's say, the Haitian or Black Caribbean community is not supportive of African Americans when it comes to making our voice heard and, supporting you guys in a cause that we feel or the whole world can see that racism played a role in it.
So I would say, at least with the George Floyd incident, and I'll call it uprising, that maybe that's not a good example, only because it went global. Um, Literally, it went global. Um, I think if maybe moving forward, you know, feel free to email me and say and point out, see, this, Haitian person or this group is speaking up. Bolton John, yes. Thank you, Cars 1126, Bolton John. Um, because to be honest, it's like Haitians are very quiet. Um, if there's any noise being made, it's well, I think the Jamaicans are the biggest Caribbean group here. Um, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to give some credit somewhere. I mean, we need to we it needs to be
Where
made
would you
known.
say that you felt Black Islanders were not supportive of African Americans?
Well, I mean, this has been more than just George Floyd.
They stay
If
to
there's any,
themselves. That's one of the things Stitch and Goods mentioned.
yeah, and but I'm trying to.
But can we
I'm trying. So
associate that?
my understanding is that, if you're new here, yeah, you probably are. You're going to stay to yourself. But what about the children that you've given birth to that get automatic citizenship? They're not in risk. They're not at risk of being deported. The one, y'all have some second gens here. It's just, like in social media, I don't you don't you don't you don't see or hear anybody making noise. The young man that's going on in Texas now, who's using the stand your ground, for killing the white boy who attacked him allegedly. We still don't know what all happened, but don't hear anything from any of the Black immigrant groups. Um,
Well,
Actually,
I guess
what you're hearing
we're
is the
waiting
side
on
with white
some fact.
folks.
They're probably waiting on some facts from that. But I would answer a little something about immigrants staying to themselves. I'll use myself. Imagine growing up in the state of Texas and all of my friends were Texans, right?
Okay.
And I don't know no routes. I don't have friends. And of course, I may have some extended family, but I don't know them. And life itself has taken you through some rough paths. It doesn't make it if I stay to myself that I am not in support of my community. But it's just I want to make sure that when I do make friends, that I don't make friends that's gonna get me in trouble or lead me into the wrong directions. So when you use a lot of migrants, when people migrate, I'll say from Haiti, a lot of the times, unless you already have existing family, like today, a lot of people were paroled to their family. But before, a lot of immigrants were not paroled to their family. They literally just, made a bold move and found their way, took a boat to make it to America or wherever they were going to in search of better life. Not knowing anyone there, not knowing what will happen to them when they get there, right?
Mhm.
And then when they get there, they get an opportunity to get established. They don't speak the language.
Mhm.
Can you see why someone may stay to themselves? It's not to say that they think they're better. It's just wanting to be careful because I I don't speak the language well, you know, and a lot of foreigners, Miss Tracy, when you attend these meetings, a lot of foreigners have been exposed to a lot and have been through a lot. So they think that America is heaven when you that's in America have your own disparities and problems.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where a lot of foreigners get the wake up call too, because what the media have sold to a lot of them about America is not true. Then when they get to America, they find out that America have its own set of problems. Our education system is not the best at this time. So they're not teaching history too about a lot of what's going on with African Americans. So I think that we should be sensitive to that. And as well as my community should be sensitive to the African community and be kind and open, okay? Because we each may not know about each other's history. Do you get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? But them staying to
Yes.
themselves is not to say that they're better. I mean, a lot of people are running to save their lives, and they're finally getting an opportunity to live in America.
Um, so yeah, I totally understand that. I understand that. I'm referring to there are a lot of Caribbeans here that are not that are second generation. Um, it's their parents or their grandparents that came here. Um, so that's what I'm pointing to. That's they still focus on their communities unless they're a bi-ethnic, I'll call it a bi-ethnic Black person that has a Black American parent and a Caribbean parent, and one has a Caribbean parent. And then it depends on who really like raised them, as far as who they tug more towards, community wise. Um, so I would like to hear or see them more involved if we're talking about us just being one Black community, um, and that they, for instance, going back to reparations, there's been Caribbeans here who want it to be open. They don't want it just to be based upon 40 acres and a mule. But our reparations, our repair is based on that particular grievance that our ancestors worked in this country for free, and they were promised something that they never got, to give them some economic footing that they never got. And that's what we want repaired. We're not talking about the discrimination that happened. That's something different. So there's different reparations committees in different states currently, and there's non-Black American, non-FBA, African American, whatever you want to call us, that are on these committees that want to open it up and say, well, I'm Black and I've been aggrieved. And we're like, well, it's not about you being aggrieved because you're Black. It's about Black Americans being aggrieved from slavery here in America, our 40 acres and our mule. So then there's this tension and tug of war that's currently happening right now in different states. Like Boston's got a reparations committee going on. Michigan's got one. California, the state of California, they had a hard time. Although it was a Jamaican that sided and said, if this was Jamaica, I'd want the reparations to go to Jamaicans. I wouldn't want it to go to anybody Black that happened to move and start living in Jamaica. Um, so it, so like I said, social media is just not, it hasn't been helpful thus far, in mending, what has been broken. It actually has broken it. because like again, I would say we were on Black Americans, African Americans, FBA. We were on the flat blackness thing until social media, um, and it's just broken it. It's broken
I,
that.
I will admit that you enlightened me about, okay, since America occupied you guys, then America should be the ones to pay reparation to you guys. That I can understand, because if and when France does pay Haiti reparation, it will
Mhm.
go to Haitian people. So I am always willing to meet you in the middle, you know? But my whole point for this is that we must not lose focus on the fact that we as Black people have faced some of the same oppression. And even though the oppression is different today, Tracy, believe me, we still face very similar oppression. You just don't know what's happening in Haiti because you're not in Haiti.
Mhm.
You don't know the oppression that's happening in Jamaica because you're not in Jamaica. You
Mhm.
don't know what's happening in Africa because we're not there in Africa. But I think, in my opinion, that Black people all over the world continue to face oppression. And mhm,
Excuse me. Oh, I totally agree with that. I mean, my view is that globally, we're all, if you're Black, you're under this system of white supremacy. So, and I mean that's why we were so open um to Black folks, to, when you all started immigrating here, just from the Caribbean, from Africa, because we understand how white supremacy colonized um you all. We don't call it colonization here, but it's still a form of suppression of white aggression that all of us are under. um that's why for decades we've been like open arm, the flat blackness. You're my brother. That's why we say brother, sister. Oh, sis, that bruh. um we actually, those terms were coined back in the late 1960s, because we said, okay, Africa is mama, that's mother Africa. So everybody from there, then we're siblings. And that's
mhm.
how we saw the African, us being a part of the African diaspora. um it's just been lately, and I don't know if it's because I would say, like, since the late 80s, definitely the 90s, with the influx, has been heavy with Black folks immigrating here, that they're able to even just have their own communities. So they get into their own enclaves, and they focus on themselves, um, because they
Do
don't
you
have
think
to
that
collaborate with
Do
us.
you think that the media also play a role? Because I see where Claude Constant, welcome to the show, and welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in. She stated, the way I see it, both groups are not really in power. We can see what's happening with whitewashing of history. Black
Mhm.
Americans are being taught to fear immigrants. And she also mentioned where the same way immigrants are taught to fear Black Americans because that's the news they see from the US. Do you think that media has set the stage for this exact result?
I mean, yes, in a way. I mean, you can add them to it. Media, the regular news media, along with social media. So, for instance, when Trump ran and he made that comment about Haitians at the debate, he had with Kamala Harris. I think if if it's a black person, say in a rural area in Mississippi, that's never, even met anybody from the any Caribbean island or an African, they may be like, oh, they might think it's true. Um, versus someone that has been around. I'll say, well, the immigrant black community that versus those that have been, and they know that's that he's being his usual self, racist self. Um, but so yeah, so it doesn't help if for those that are not exposed, to other black folks.
You see how we want Trump to do the right thing. I think we should consider bridging the gap between us. We're already a small population on Earth. And yes, we are all different people because we're from different places. And, we can all be doing the same thing, but grew up doing it differently, right? You cook
Mm-hmm.
on the oven, electrical oven. I cook with wood. She cooked with charcoal. But in the end, we're cooking, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
cooking to eat, right? So
Right.
we're all different people. But I do think that within our community, we should focus on building a chain within us and not separating ourselves and focus on more what's causing the division, what's causing the bridge, and how can we fix it. Before we part ways, one of the questions that I had written down for you here is how can we move forward together? And before you answer, immigration is a big thing today.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that from the beginning, many immigrants knew that, hey, this is a 2 year, it is temporary, and this is a humanitarian crisis temporary program, right? And
Mm-hmm.
these are the requirements of, how you qualify. So for you who's in America, you may not be seeing it that way. But when you look into some of these immigrants' countries, what qualified them to come to America? Some, I'm speaking for Haiti itself, I'm not sure about the other places because I am not there. But I
Mm-hmm.
know Haiti itself has gotten a lot worse. And do they meet, do the Haitian people who are already there meet the humanitarian crisis? Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm.
And my opinion is that we should focus on building a community and not division because the system on this earth, black people especially, we've been a victim of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
Okay.
and I'm telling you, I see it big. I see both sides because I now live in Haiti, Miss Tracy. What's happening in America is one thing, but I encourage you to just do a little bit of research on what's happening here in Haiti. The disparity towards black people. And as I say that, I don't say every white person is racist or, but the disparity towards black people.
You're saying
It
black people in our immigration system, in the U.S. immigration system?
not only in the immigration system, but in their own country. And as far as the immigration system, I'm not going to solely say it is racism towards just because this administration, the Trump administration, is not discriminating whether you could be from Canada and they're deporting you. So if it was solely just one group, I could say, okay, this is racism. But outside looking in, I don't see it that way completely, right? But maybe someone who's in the situation that's facing deportation, they may have a different point of view. And by right, even though you as an American are saying, hey, we don't have space here for you, go back home, this is temporary, right? But everybody wants a chance to live, Miss Tracy. That's what everyone is after. Whether you're an American, wherever you are from, everyone is in pursuit of happiness. And that is what many of the immigrants who migrated to the United States are after, a basic, simple life. And we in the Black community, we need to do more bridging. We already have a lot of Black nations who are traumatized, who lack education, who lack mental health services. And when we continue to create division within ourselves, I think it's going to hurt our whole race in the end. Because when they look at us as a whole. You may want to identify as FBA or Black, and I want to identify as Haitian. But I think, and these secret rooms that we may not get to be in, we're all one. In their eyes, we're all we are what you know these Black people. That's just my opinion. What can we do to move forward?
Hmm. I'm hoping that these diaspora wars, I'm sure you've heard that term, that's been going on in the last few years, that in the next couple of years that they'll, things will calm down, um, and that we'll get back to, I'll say, the way that, at least from, as a Black American, African American, and FBA, um, how we saw, uh, uh, that if you were Black, that that we would move as one group of people here in this country. There was a time when that actually happened. Back in the 70s, there was this Black conference in 1972 in Gary, Indiana, and of course, it was mostly Black Americans because that's the majority of the Black folks that are here. But there were Caribbeans like Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier and other notable, I'll say, celebrity types who were non-FBA, if you will, or non-Black American. But everybody just came together for a Black agenda in America. Um, so hopefully we can get back to that. Um, we'll just have to wait and see. Like I said, we are reacting. My group is reacting to what they're seeing um, on social media. It's like what we're finding out, that it seems like the Black folks that immigrate here don't like us, and it's a lot, I think, of what they're told by the white folks. I'll say the State Department, because that's what some of them have actually said that they were told. And plus, like you said, the media doesn't help. Probably some movies as well. Um, but hopefully that next generation or second generation, we'll start to gel, as and start to move again as one Black people here in America, but still recognizing that we are our own ethnic group, as you all are, but we're still, like you said, we're still Black
Yeah.
folks.
Hmm.
How can we have each other's back? Like, when you're President Aristide,
Yes.
Let's see, it's not named right. I mean,
Jonathan Aristide. Yes, you did.
yeah. So, the Congressional Black Caucus, and at that time, most of them were FBA, African American, Black American. You know, they looked out for him. They were like, how do we help him because of what this country basically did to him was to remove him from Haiti. Um, these were older Black people who understood and were still practicing. That's my Black brother. Um, what can I do to help him? We got to get him settled somewhere. That was the Congressional Black Caucus here in America. Um, so I just use it as an example, again, as another way that hopefully in the near future that we can get back to that. And that it's not so enclave. Like I said, there's now these different enclaves. And maybe it will as we marry each other, the ones that are here, you know, that marrying thing has been going on, between our different Black ethnic groups. That hopefully that helps as well. Um,
That's true. Well, I want to thank you for coming on to the show, and it was a pleasure having you. Um, I don't know. Do you have any last words? And you have to promise me that you're gonna try some Haitian food.
oh
I believe
yeah.
we have one of the best foods. You have to try some Haitian food.
Oh, okay. I'll have to ask. There is a young man at my job, who's Haitian. He's still got his thick accent. I think it's so cute. I'll have to ask him, where I can find some.
Definitely.
I'll do
Well,
that.
I'll speak to you in private, and in private, I'll see like where you at and where there you may be able to find some good Haitian food. And speaking of Haitian food, shout out to Chef Lean for winning the Guinness World Record and representing Haiti. And she is a great chef, Haitian chef, who just won the Guinness World Record. So I want you to try some Haitian food and
Okay.
teaching others too. We are different, but we're not that different. We're not that different and I understand a lot of your point of views. I do. And I respect them. But at the end, we're not that different. Every Black person is in need of reparation. Every Black person should get reparation.
I, t- like I said, I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. But let's back each other, up on that. So
Yeah.
the reparations here in America, that's for my group because of slavery and the 40 acres and a mule. The reparations, CARICOM, so CARICOM, they got their, reparations agenda to try to get reparations for the Caribbean islands that are part of CARICOM. Is Haiti part of CARICOM? Do you know?
Yes. I don't
Okay.
see why else, but yes,
Oh,
we are.
okay. Oh, no. Okay.
I don't
But
see why, but yes, we are.
okay. But I know they've been on a mission the last few years, a reparations mission. So yeah, definitely.
Well,
Thank you for having me and allow me to
no, it
speak.
was
I
good.
hate that we still didn't for those of you
You
all
want
in the comments.
you want to answer some of the comments?
Well, there was one way back, probably a good 30, 40 minutes ago he said, oh, so FBA, that was created out of revenge.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
I
Let me
wanted
go
to
back. I
tell
did
him,
see it. I will find it.
no, it's
This is a This is for conquer and divide. Brother Kenner says, I personally don't like the FBA acronym as a title for African Americans. We should
Mhm.
stick with African American just like the Koreans, Japanese, Italians, and Haitians, etc. Too many titles. You're missing the bigger picture though with that baseless argument because not all Caribbeans inhabitants are black.
Um, I wanted to speak to the that about African Americans. So, I mean, so some, like I said, I prefer Black American. Um, like the term African American, and I mean, I'll accept it. I'm a descendant as part of my lineage is African descendancy. Um, but we just been here so long in America. I mean, we are really Americans. We've gone through again, for those of you all maybe coming in late, an ethnogenesis here in America. And wherever you are, you know, if you're 400 or 500 years out of Africa, like you in Haiti, you all have gone through an ethnogenesis. Folks in Jamaica, folks in Black folks, I don't know, Costa Rica, just name it, Colombia, Brazil. Um, for me to say, especially now with such a large group of Africans that are now living here in America, I'm not a continental African. I would just prefer to let them have that title, to be honest. Um, and just call me, I'm an American. And I've been to Ghana actually. Um, and my third day there, I realized how American I am. Although, you know, there's Black Americans, African Americans that are moving to Ghana. There's about 5,000 to 6,000 of them in Ghana, living in Ghana. But um, yeah, so I hear what he's saying. I mean, I just I don't feel that. So like I didn't push back on you, Marie, when you like to call me an African American because of my African descendancy. But I am more than that. I am more than that African descendancy. Again, I'm an amalgamation of some other groups of people. Some of us have more white ancestry, some of us have less, but we are a new group of people here in this country, in the United States of America. Um, so I feel that's why we need our own moniker, and not one that can be shared by anybody that's Black. And right now, that's what's going on in America. Anybody
And
that's Black in
that
America,
should go for every African American.
is
No,
what I'm
no,
saying, how
well,
I
I know
feel.
you don't like the term African American, but every Black American.
As far as us having our own moniker, our own name of our group for our group.
Yes.
Yeah, I think at this point, yes, because like I said, there's larger numbers of Black immigrants here in America, and more are coming. I mean, it's not going to stop. Um, so, I mean, which is okay, that's fine. But my group, we want to be recognized and known for our history here in this country, so that someone doesn't come in and piggyback. Like, there's a good example, this former football player that's on ESPN Sports or something, or Fox Sports, and he has a channel actually on here, or a podcast called Conversations with a Black Man, and he proposes to speak for anybody Black when he can't do that. And in America, he proposes to speak on behalf of Black people in America, And he's just a first gen. I don't even think he was born here. So his experience in this country is different from my experience. I don't need him to speak for me or my people. Yes, he's Nigerian, Ivy Dreams. Thank you. He's Nigerian, he's Igbo. I don't need him to speak for my people. Did this start over? I'm seeing it live. Are we good?
I hear
I
you
hear you
far.
far. You hear me?
I hear you a
I
little
hear
bit
you a little bit
far. I
far.
can't
I
even
can't
hear
even
you.
hear you.
And
Uh-oh.
I hear
And I
with
hear with
the
the
echo now.
echo now. It it's an echo. Do I need to come out and come back?
Mm-hmm.
Because the live started over. I saw a circle spin and then the live started
Okay.
over. Okay. Can you hear me? Is it echo?
I hear
I hear
it's still
it's
an
still an
echo.
echo. Let me go, let me mute and come back in, I guess. What is this little microphone thing? I've never done this before, y'all. Let's see, retouch.
It's okay. I will, yes. Thank you for joining us on this conversation. And the purpose for this conversation is to educate, guys, is to bring certain things to light. Because as Haiti is facing what is going through, I think now more than ever, we do need to have togetherness more than anything else. All right, you may continue. I was going to continue with the show until you come back. You may continue.
Oh, I was talking about the Nigerian. Yeah. So he even went on a book tour last year. He wrote a book with a Jewish American woman.
Mm-hmm.
Conversations with a black, with a Jewish and a black, something is in the title.
Mm-hmm.
And he make the media press runs talking about black people and black people's folks' relationships with the Jewish community in America. And some of the things he was saying, I was heated because my community, we don't talk about Jewish people. He made it sound like we have this thing uh, about Jewish people. We don't talk about anybody. We focus on us. We focus on our family. We're like everybody else. We talk about family, what's going on at our jobs, in our lives, and politics. Um, so I didn't like him. He's a Nigerian now wanted to be the voice for everybody black in America, regardless of where you came from. Um, that has to stop. You can't just come here. And then white people see it as, oh yeah, well, he's black. But his experience is not my experience. My experience is not his experience. He's not from my ethnic group. He just got here to America. He can't speak for me. Um, Emmanuel Acho, yes, Cars 1126. That's him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's why I don't want to call it a divide or separatism. We're just trying to get across to even just white Americans that, yes, we descend from Africa, but there's more to us, and we're different groups of people. And white folks, no, they don't think about that. I said this to a man at my job, a white man. He said, "Oh, I never thought about that," because I explained to him freedmen. That we're U.S. freedmen because of the Freedmen Act, the Freedmen and Refugees Act that came about after the Civil War. Um, so I gave him that history. He's like, "Oh, I never thought about that." So, I'm saying that to say it can be detrimental to my ethnic group here in America when someone like an Emmanuel Acho, a Nigerian, wants to speak for my ethnic group, and you're not a part of my ethnic group. If maybe Nigerians have problems with Jewish people, but my ethnic group doesn't, then you see what I'm saying? It's starting to be
Let
too
me
much.
excuse me, Miss Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Yamaha Danto just said this topic is all over the internet. Alternatively, try to set up partnerships with Black American organizations. Show more people your school and how they can help. Speaking to one person won't do it.
Yeah, they're right. I agree. I think well, I mean, we touched on that about a good hour ago or so, where I said that, yeah, we need to educate, and you mentioned educating each other, and that would be, so I agree with, what was this, the person who commented? I agree with you.
Dundo.
Dundo.
Mhm.
I agree with you,
I
Dundo.
will answer this. I For everyone who continue to support the school, I know that you guys will continue to support the school because that's the number one focus. But we also have a YouTube channel, guys, and latest topics is what keep your channel pushing. So there's nothing wrong with us having this educational. Is to, we're not arguing. It's a great debate. And you guys, if you would like to support Life in Haiti, the school, please do so via Zelle, via GoFundMe. You may do so, guys. We have not stopped representing the school. I have not, you know, but this channel is a way for me to make a living as well for myself, because the school is not how I make a living. And in order to keep this channel going, then I must bring latest topics to the show. So the school, guys, the funding of the school is dedicated to the school. I cannot just put my whole life on the school because this is how I make a living.
All
Okay.
right.
And I beg to differ, Ms. Dento, but please excuse me if tonight's topic is not something that you're enjoying, okay? We're not, and there's no fight. We're educating and we're speaking about our differences. And I wish I could even translate this, because even my Creole speaking people, Miss Tracy, they need
Oh,
to hear this type of conversation.
oh, right,
And I
right.
think they should be one of the first to hear it, because they're coming from a place of darkness and not knowing much about your history, where you have an opportunity to learn about our history. Where
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of children, which is why I am passionate about education in Haiti. A lot of children in Haiti are not getting that opportunity, and a lot of people, they may not want to admit it, coming out of Haiti, they did not get that same opportunity. So even
Mm.
though these type of conversations are not the most comfortable conversations, they need to be had.
And I see you, Mercedes. No, I don't have a channel. Um, I, I haven't. I don't think. I don't know if I do something like that. I just Marie's channel came up through the algorithm on YouTube, and I just wanted to respond to the first show she did on this topic, um, just to help shed some light and know about FBA, uh, African American slash Black American freedmen. And as far as somebody was talking about who's speaking for who, no, Kanye West does not speak for Black Americans, even though he is a Black American. Um, Tariq Tariq coined the term FBA.
I
Um, yeah, somebody
Listen,
put
I
in
do
here.
have a question too after this. I
Oh,
have a
okay.
comment. No, you may continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say he coined the term FBA. He doesn't speak. If you would say that Tariq speaks for Black Americans, then you could say the same thing about me, because I'm on the show just shedding light. I'm a woman of a particular age. So I've lived a long time, and I've lived in different parts of the United States, with different experiences, and actually so has Tariq. But Tariq is a Black American. I was just trying to look at comment. And Claude Anderson, oh, Ivy Dreams, you know what he coined? Dr. Claude Anderson coined Native Black American. If you look in his, I don't know which book, I have his books. Dr. Claude Anderson, he was the one who did say that, you know, with all these immigrant groups coming into America, we have this reparations claim, so we need to figure out what we can call ourselves. And he said Native Black Americans, but he understood how that could get confusing because we have Native Americans here in America. So that's when Tariq said, well, we are like part of the foundation. Well, Tariq will say the foundation of this country, that we built it. We definitely helped to build it. They could not have done it without us. So Tariq is right about that. Um, they couldn't have done it without us. So that's why he coined foundational versus the native. But yeah, thank you, Ivy Dreams. Um,
Dear Nadia said, shouldn't we use the term ADOS, ADOS, since Yvette,
Yvette
is it
Carnell.
Carmel and Tone
Hmm.
Talks created this before FBA?
So, great question. And that it was we were going down that road. It was going down that road until Yvette Carnell decided to make ADOS an organization. And because I was following her, because of the stats, she was giving out a lot of statistical information about our condition, Marie, as Black Americans here in this country. Like she and the other person that was the commenter named Tone, they were giving like statistical information that was just making people like me, our heads explode. And it got us, that's how this reparations movement got started with ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery. But then you know you have a lot of Black Americans, African Americans, who don't like the connection to slavery, or that it's mentioned. Like we're more than just that, you know, than our ancestors being enslaved. Um, and FBA started, and even Tariq Nasheed had started mentioning in some of his commentary ADOS, and occasionally he would drop Foundational Black American. He had a falling out with those two folks, Yvette and Tone, and he decided to just push the term that he coined, which is Foundational Black American, that he would no longer mention ADOS. And he just has a bigger presence than Yvette and Tone. He has a bigger presence. So that Foundational Black America is what's being pushed now. Like I said, I prefer Black American or Freedman, but I get it. And I actually I respect him for it. You know, we need to figure out something for our ethnic group here in America. Oh yeah, there were Black Native Americans. Yeah.
Are you a professor too?
No, and the only reason I paused, I taught at a community college for a spell, but that was part time. Now I still have my 9 to 5, but I love Black history with a focus on Black American history, but I love Black history. Um, so anytime, um, you know, like learn about Haiti, you know, if I hear something on the news or even if something pops up on YouTube, like I know about barbecue um, in Haiti. um, just that's why, I grew up as a Pan-Africanist, but because of what I've been seeing on, not just because of what I would say, what I saw on social media like about 6, 7 years ago, it just opened my eyes of the reciprocity of it not being there. That we Black Americans were very Pan-African, celebrating, romanticizing Africa and flat blackness. You my Black sister, Black brother, no matter where you're from. Um, but then it's like, where is the reciprocity from Africa? And then, oh, I didn't know that the Caribbeans, felt this kind of way, about us. Um, and that's where this education between us needs to come in, because as you said, you're immigrating to this country where you were from. This is the land of milk and honey, and you get here, and more than likely you're in a more like working class environment, neighborhood, or even a poor neighborhood, and you think that that's what African Americans, Black Americans, FBA, you think that, or ADOS, for some of you out there in comment land, that's what we are, and that's a piece of our America. Um, that's not all of our America, but you all haven't seen it. It usually takes, like I said, it'll be like your children or your children's children that go, or even some that get here, they, 5, 10, 15 years, and they're like, oh, yeah, these Black Americans, we've been getting washed by white supremacy, here in America. Oh, they're not lazy. Oh, no, we're working as well. Oh, somebody said I was called a Yankee in Jamaica.
Mhm. Let me read this comment. I'm
Okay.
gonna I'm gonna cut through the chase here. They're very close to the finish line in their heads as far as getting the reparation check, and they don't want to share it. Do you think the separation is about money?
Well, it is about money. We need funds. We need reparations should be a list of things. Money being at the top of that list. Because again, whoever made the comment, my people were denied that. We were supposed to get 40 acres and a mule after slavery. Instead, we got nothing. Uh, One person, if we have actually slave narratives from people who lived into the 1930s, who were born into slavery. He said it's like we just got turned out into a field like cows. You open the barn door, the cows go out and they just walk around and eat the grass, and they're just there until sunset, and it's time to go back inside. We walked out to nothing for us. Um, so we've been denied, and then another 100 years of Jim Crow. Further discrimination in jobs, housing, business loans to start businesses. We've just been denied, and we're just now, I would say, with my generation, um, getting on our feet financially. With my generation, I'm Generation X. I'm Gen X. Um, so to share, this isn't about, again, maybe the person came in late. This is not about reparations for racism. This is about reparations. Just remember this: 40 acres and a mule that would have put us financially, given us some type of economic base in this country, and we were denied that.
You say generation Gen X. Does that put? I don't know now. I'm that puts you at 50 and older.
Well, yeah, so it's 65. It's 1965 starts Generation X, and it ends
Okay.
in, does it end in 79? I'm trying to remember when it
So
ends.
you're telling me
Or
you're that old?
1982.
You're that old?
I'm old. That's why I said I'm a lady of a particular age. I've been around a long
Well,
time.
you look good if you've been around that long. You look great.
Thank you. I've been around a long
The
time.
reality is, black don't crack. I mean, you are a true example of that because
Thank
you
you.
look good. I would
Thank
give you
you.
about 35. You are not that
Oh,
old. You gonna have
wow.
you're gonna have to send me that ID card. What do you think, Mercedes? Does
Wow.
he look that old? I would give you, I'd say like
Jump,
38, 39, right?
jump here since she's still a
40.
baby.
Wow. See, you still a baby. You are not
Oh,
that old.
I
Cause you
wish.
think like yeah, no, 65. That's I don't think that's hitting 60.
Yes.
And I think it's
Uh-huh.
your spirit too that keeps you super young and but
Oh,
no,
okay.
you look really good. You look
Oh,
nice for your
thank you.
age.
Thank you. I'll take that. Thank you. I'll receive that. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Continue doing what you're doing.
Look, I will. Thank you. I appreciate that, everybody. Um,
Uh-huh. Well,
oh, and
I
thank
want
you,
to
Miss
thank
Sandy.
you so much
Thank you for
for
having me.
tuning in and sharing and enlightening us because FBA is a fairly new
Hmm.
group. As you mentioned, you guys are not an organization. You do not have a leader, per se, right? You
No,
just
no, no, no. It's not. Or it's just a different name instead of African American, to get away from the name the moniker African American, to get to a, a different name. So right now it's FBA. It may catch on. It may not. It may. A lot of African Americans are not familiar with FBA, but it's starting to pick up. It's starting to pick up. But that's all it is. It's a name. I know Tariq's got a website where he tries to explain it because he gave it. He named it, but that's all it is. It's not an organization. There's no leader. It's just Black American folks with the foundational in front of Black American. Um, and
you
not
explained
to
it
step
well.
away from Black folks, from other Black folks. But like I said, hopefully in the future, these diaspora wars will cease, or you know dead down to a low softening volume, and we'll gel back up, as a group of Black folks. Um, I'll say once again, because as I said, I'm Gen X, and when I was coming up, we were just Black folks. Everybody was Black folks, descended from Africa. You're my brother, you're my sister.
Mhm. Well,
So
thank you so much for coming on. We've been on for over 2 hours. It
okay.
was a pleasure having you on. It's been a great show. Hopefully, my house is your house. You are welcome here. I look
Oh,
at
thank
us
you,
as
Renee.
one people,
Hmm.
and we should bridge that gap and understand that we as Black people, our ancestors, we have all faced oppression wherever
Yes.
we are at. I believe that wholeheartedly that,
Hmm.
every Black person, since some were, not slaves, but for the most part, many of us, we endured a level of oppression. And I think all
Mhm.
of us deserve a level, we deserve reparation, because when you look at Haitian history, we had to pay for the freedom we have. Can you imagine me coming into
I
your
agree.
home, removing you from your home, beating you, um, abusing you, and then you escape? And when I go back and find you where you at and extort you and tell you, in order to get out of the dungeon that I had you in, you have to pay.
Uh,
So
it's horrible. It's horrible the way France. Yeah, it's horrible.
yeah,
I agree with you. I agree.
yeah,
They need to pay. They need to
yeah,
pay. They need to pay.
definitely.
Yeah, you all. Yes, I agree. So good luck to
Friendship
you with your
equity.
school.
Thank you, thank
Mhm.
you, and you continue to follow us, and share the school, share the work that we are doing, so that we will continue to make a difference here in Haiti. Thank you. Continue to be
Thank
great
you.
in your community.
Thank you. Thank you. Same to you. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know that tonight's conversation may not be a conversation that we're used to on this channel. Actually, it's a conversation that I stumbled upon and decided it was worth speaking about. And the only reason why is to bridge that gap, understanding that Black people, no matter where we are from, we are one. FBA feel as if the Haitian community is not as supportive. Well, you guys who are tuned in, you're welcome, Miss Gina. You guys who are tuned in, who are Haitian, understand that we must educate ourselves on both sides. Let's, get to know each other and support each other. Because when those who are racist, when they see your skin color before you can say a word, I don't think they're taking the time out to figure if whether you're Black, if whether you're Haitian. No, they know instantly you're Black. I don't think they're differentiating us like that. And one of the things we must all do is respect the fact that we are all from different places, different cultures. So we all may do the same thing differently, but in the end, I think we get that same result, right? And I just want to thank each and everyone for tuning in. Thank you guys for your love and support. If you've yet to hit the like button, guys, don't forget to please hit the like button. Those who will be watching after the live, please share with family and friends and leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. If I did block someone tonight, it may not be because you were cursing. I never have an issue with anyone disagreeing with me. Matter of fact, I can start out disagreeing with you. I can disagree with anyone, but I am respectful, guys. And there's a way, even though if you disagree, to express yourself to the person you disagree with, okay? So, one rule here, I do expect for you to be respectful and challenge the subject, okay? And be mindful of how you convey your message, or else I may block you based on the move that I am on. So, tonight, I wasn't intending to, but if I felt that you expressed yourself wrong and was disrespectful towards my point of view, yes, I did block you. You guys have a blessed one. I love you guys who love me, and I still love you guys who don't love me. Until next time, be kind to yourself, be kind to one another. Tell somebody you love them. Good night, guys.